At the T-minus 3-minute mark, tape recorders on board the spacecraft were turned on. These recorders record both voice and data. We have ignition on the engine now building up to 7.7 million pounds of thrust. We have a launch commit and we have a liftoff. Moving back. The Saturn V lifting off the power.
And we're back. This is WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 The Radiator. It's the Rocket Shop. And with me now is Tom Pearo and Shay Gesetta. Am I saying that right? No, might be close. Gestal.
Yeah.
My bad. I was not saying that right at all.
You kind of messed mine up too a little bit, but that's okay.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Tom, how do I say your name?
I usually pronounce it Pearo.
Pearo.
Yeah, kind of like the fruit pear with an O on the end.
All right,
or an O around the pear. You know.
I like how you pronounce my last name.
Okay, so Tom Pearo and Shay Gestal.
Gestal.
Ooh, I like that. Gestal.
I know, it sounds so exotic.
It's like Steven Seagal.
Now, now you guys have turned up with an awful lot of equipment. It looks phenomenal. There's an amp over here that you have to ask it nicely to turn on and get warm. It makes fantastic noises so far that I've heard. I would really like for you to kick us off with a song to show us what this can do.
Sounds great. This is the newest one that we've written, and it's called Moon and Sun.
very nice. Am I allowed to speak at this point? I feel like we have faded out at this.
We have faded out.
That was wow. It just makes you melt in your seat. That kind of music. It's phenomenal. How do you even begin to start creating a concept of being able to create this? It seems like trying to, I don't know, compose water.
I like that.
I actually like that analogy as well. Oftentimes I refer to music as a river, and most of these songs just kind of come to me, kind of entirely. I kind of feel like they're almost like beamed down on me from above, radiated from the universe, if you will. And I do have a strong both spiritual and scientific kind of explanation for that. Maybe we'll go into that at another time.
Okay. So do you need to be in a particularly special place if it's a spiritual event for you to compose? Do you have to have, like, your own kind of church or chapel, or is it just as and when you're kind of walking down the road and you kind of get struck by this this cosmic thunderbolt?
I find that the setting really does matter a lot. I construct my home to be what I call a sanctuary. I record this all myself, or I would say my last album I recorded myself, and I found it to be very fulfilling and difficult, as I was able to get it to sound very close to how I wanted it, but it took time. Inspiration doesn't strike all the time. So I'm kind of just hoping that when it does, I'm in the right space to notice it and to kind of channel it.
And this is quite a departure from your other works with Abby Morin that was kind of more folksy. Have you always been creating this kind of music, or is this was this a new avenue for you that came recently, started to explore recently?
Well, I've been working on music like this my whole life. Working with Abby was kind of a side project that turned into an almost full-time thing, just because of the momentum of that project. And, I had such a great time touring with that group. Me and Shay toured around the country. We were on the road for 6 months with Abby and her amazing partner and manager, and just Jenna, who does so much for them as well. And so I kind of got swept up in that for a couple of years. And, I made the hard decision at the end of that I really had to come back and record this music that really has been in my heart for some time now.
Mm-hmm. And I've been listening to some of the tracks online, and the audio quality is exquisite, and you really kind of need that for the sort of music you're creating. Was this just a really great bedroom studio setup, or did you have to go somewhere? Did you get someone to produce it for you? What was the process of creating this album?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually have a video on my website that was shot by Cale Cooper. It's an excellent video that's kind of a behind-the-scenes, almost documentary of Headspace, the album that I released last November. And that album, I rented a cabin in Waterbury, Vermont, in the middle of the woods on 80 acres of land. I was there in the fall for 3 months, and I turned it into my wonderland. So I brought my studio, I brought my old Yamaha mixing console up there, I brought all my old guitar amps, I brought Dave's old Rogers drum set. I set it up in the front of a window looking out on a waterfall, and I said, let's create. My music is very, I don't really love saying my music. The music that I am a part of is very much about painting a picture. It's about creating a sonic landscape for the listener. And so when I create music, I like to be in beautiful environments. I like to be in front of a window looking at water. I've really found that. And maybe it's because I grew up on an island. Who would have thought?
In Vermont, or what island did you grow up on?
Yes, Vermont. Yes, Isle of Mont, Vermont, which no one really probably knows where that is, but it's a tiny island on Lake Champlain. Actually, the world's oldest coral reef was recently. I mean, not alive right now, but obviously dating back millions and millions of years. So there's, I could say that I grew up on the oldest living coral reef, which is must be why I'm such an old soul.
Quite a claim. So you're in this cabin, looking at the waterfalls as you're creating your music. Is the music a direct audio copy of that landscape alone, or while were you creating it, did you have other landscapes in mind?
I definitely had other landscapes in mind. This album, Headspace, really has a very minimalist, a very kind of, it's very much a winter record. And I wasn't at the cabin in winter, I was at the cabin in fall. And I really had these landscapes kind of in my head going into the project. For instance, Plains, the 4th track on the album, I wrote that in Laramie, Wyoming, while I was on tour with Abby Morin. And that was a location where it was 8,500 feet above sea level, but it was flat. You weren't in the mountains. You could see mountains in the distance, and like you were 8,500 feet above sea level, and you felt like you were so close to outer space, you were just gonna float off the planet. And I wrote that song the next night, actually, when we were in Salt Lake City. It just came complete to me. I brought my guitar into a friend's kitchen. I started to play. The chords came out. The bass line came out. The melody came out complete. It was just beamed down. And that is the way a lot of these songs do come about. I will be honest.
Maybe it was easier to beam because you were so high up.
I was closer to the... Yes. Good. I never thought about that.
Less interference.
There you go.
Well, I'd love to hear it. I don't know if that's the next track that you're planning on playing, but it would be a great segue if it is.
Yeah, well, we're going to play a song next from the album, Headspace. This one is the 2nd track on the album, and this one is in somewhat a reflection of the house that I grew up in Isle of Mines. It's a very small old farmhouse, as well as some other pieces of my life that I've taken. And this next song is, I kind of consider it the single for this album. It's called Tiny House.
All right, wonderful. Well, take it away. Tom Pearo there with Tiny House. Just another beautiful track. I've not heard a track so far that I've listened to either online or in front of me that hasn't kind of invoked those kind of similar feelings of just kind of melting into my own seat. Is it a large part to do with, I mean, you were saying before about how being spiritual is kind of the nature of the way that you're creating this music. The people listening to that, is that the kind of feeling that you're trying to invoke, or is that just a personal thing for you?
Yeah, I would say definitely. The word spiritual gets thrown around a lot. I think that kind of religion has a lot of, there's just a lot of things tied to religion and spirituality in this world that I think some people can kind of be scared a little bit of it. And, you know, by spiritual, I'm not necessarily referring to religious, just kind of this from the heart, this kind of deeper meaning that music really provides for me. And for me, it's a way to get to this place of stillness. It's almost like a sonic meditation. When I play music, like thoughts do not enter my head. Like I wasn't thinking about anything during that last song. It was just clear. And I'm really lucky that I've come to a place where, I can kind of set myself up for that and hopefully take the audience with me. Because there's just so much stuff that's going on in this world that, I myself can get bogged down a lot. And, wintertime is a hard month, it's a hard season. It's a hard year in Vermont.
5 months at the very least.
Exactly. And, if my music can just if the music I'm a part of can just take you away for a second, I really do believe that is very valuable. And in fact, I think with this latest album, Headspace, I will plug this again, I'm trying to be better at that. I think it might take you away for all of its whopping 28 minutes.
I thought it was 45 actually.
Well, you wish. And, I'm a big fan of short albums. And my biggest feedback on this album has been I wish it was longer, which is perfect. Exactly what I intended, listeners. So
just getting people begging for more.
Exactly.
Well, talking of which, you brought the album out end of last year. I'm not expecting you to bringing out another album or anything like that, but do you push out singles or single tracks when you create them, or are you the sort of artist that kind of compiles what you've got together and actually kind of put them out as an album each time?
This album was my first album under Tom Pearo as a solo album, so I really wanted to put my best foot forward, and I'm big into albums. I listen to vinyl a lot. For many years, I almost only listened to vinyl, purposefully. And the concept of an album and it being greater than the sum of its parts really resonates with me. Although in the future, I'm working on new recordings as we speak, because I've gotten the feedback that people want more. And I shouldn't be sitting in my apartment keeping all this to myself. I should be sharing this with the world. So I'm going to be releasing more content more quickly in the coming years.
All right. And is this kind of published solely on your website? Where can you find your music, if not, in a record store or in a record store?
Yeah. My music is available Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp. All of these sites are linked to my website, tompearo.com. If you go there, you can, there's clicks to if you have Spotify. I prefer Spotify. I like its format. I like the look of it. I like how it suggests other artists that oftentimes I find I like. But I know not everyone has Spotify, so I wanted to make sure that it's, it's on YouTube, Bandcamp as well. And obviously, the local record stores. I have vinyl copies of this at all the local record stores around here. Pure Pop, Burlington Records, Speaking Volumes.
I did read that the vinyl is probably the best way to listen to this.
I prefer listening to vinyl. Although, honestly, I'm really, really, really happy how the digital version came out. Like, extremely happy. Almost to where I wouldn't say that vinyl is better for this particular album. It's just a slightly different experience. But that being said, I am very happy with how the records came out, and they're 180 gram. I really spared no expense, and I really wanted to, like I said, to put my best foot forward.
You were just mentioning how you quite like Spotify because of it recommends you other artists of a similar nature. I would say I definitely agree with that one. I've been down several rabbit holes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Where I'll listen to one person I know I like and then get the recommended artist, and then before I know it, I'm listening to like Mongolian funk jazz or something. There is a big part of me that's begging to try and start comparing you to other artists, but I'd like to know who you try and, I wouldn't say emulate, but what artists do you kind of get inspired by, and who do you think you sound like? Apart from yourself, of course.
That's a very good question. I've always prized uniqueness, and just by maybe chance, my music, I do feel, falls into that category. There's not a whole lot of other bands that I really do feel are doing what I'm doing. But there are some, and for sure some that I've taken a lot of influence from. The first person is Bill Frisell. He's a jazz guitar player. He's my favorite musician, living or dead. And I emulate him, and I really look up to him. I oftentimes say I'm a disciple of Bill Frisell. Although he's never given me a guitar lesson, I have met him, and he did say, I was playing acoustic guitar at a guitar shop that I worked at, and he came up to me and he said, "That sounds good." Quote, Bill Frisell. And that's when I knew. I was like, I have to do music the rest of my life.
You should have it on the back of the album.
I know. I know. Bill Frisell, if you're out there, you told me I sounded good, and now I'm playing music. Another artist that's newer, that recently I was at a festival. I was at Otis Mountain Get Down last year. I'm actually performing there this year. Really pumped. Shout out to Otis. Was Delicate Steve. And he is actually doing a lot of similar things. He's using a lot of loops. It's all instrumental. The guitar melodies are really carrying it. He's got a little more backbeat, and he's like a little more danceable. But it's really in the same vein. So
I was going to say something similar in that kind of same vein of loops and just crazy great guitar work, but a little bit dancier. Tom Misch.
Oh yes, I love Tom Misch. I found him through Spotify. Like this last year.
Yep.
And I listened to Tom Misch while I was tracking this album, Headspace,
really?
all the time in the morning. I'd put on his what was it? His London, or it was what was it? It was like the almost most recent EP he had.
I think I know the one you mean.
It's got like 4 tracks on it.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
Yeah, the Crazy Dream EP is really good as
The
well.
Crazy Dream EP. That's it. That's it.
Definitely want to check out if anyone else is likes this music. Tom Misch is a fantastic.
And we share the same name.
And you share the same name.
That's amazing that you actually picked that out of this music, because I'm just very happy about that. Wow, great.
Well, he's also a very, very good guitar player.
Which is why I originally was drawn to him.
Unfortunately, we've not got too much time left, and I would really, really like to hear at least one more track. So, could you please introduce? Oh, sorry. Before I make you do that, please tell us where you're playing next. What's coming up in the next 6 months or so? You already say you're playing a festival.
Yes.
Where can we see you live? And give another plug out for your album.
Awesome. Yeah. You can see me live this Friday alongside Shay Gestel, a lovely violin player that's been kind enough to join me tonight. This Friday at the Light Club Lamp Shop, right next to Radio Bean. We'll be playing there from 7:30 to 8:30. I love that room. It's my favorite room in town to play. So stop by there this Friday.
Yeah, I just said that to Steph Papp as one of my favorite venues. It's a fantastic place.
Lee has been supporting my music ever since the first crappy band I was in. And, the Radio Bean is really a big part of the community, and I love to bring my music there anytime I can get a chance to.
And if you do like listening to what you're hearing this evening, Tom Pearo's album came out in November. It's called Headspace.
Yes.
It's 25 minutes of just pure bliss, audio bliss. Wholeheartedly recommend it to anyone. And please, if you could play us out with one of your songs, that'd be fantastic.
Alrighty. We've kept it pretty mellow this whole time, so let's stray from our set list and try something a little darker.
All right.
Oh boy.
Simply beautiful. Thank you guys so much for coming on this evening. Really do appreciate it. That was wonderful.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Just one more thank you for Shay Gesto on violin tonight. Thanks so much, Shay.
Wow. It's taking me a little bit to kind of shake my head back into reality there. But thank you very much, Steph Pappas, also for coming on earlier on today. Tom, Shay, thank you guys once again. You guys will be playing on Friday at the Light Club Lunch Shop. Also, Tom Pearo's new album came out last November, actually, but called Headspace. So find that on Spotify or at your local record store. Next week we have Young Tradition Vermont and Troy Millet, or Troy Millet. I'm sure I probably got his name wrong as well, but he can correct me next week. I've been your host, Tom Proctor. This has been The Rocket Shop. You guys have a good night.